Hello, this is Steven with another speaker review. I don't post videos that often, but these speakers right here, the Soundboxes, are amazing speakers, and I just got the Soundboks 3, the new Soundboks, and I wanted to kind of overview it and do a sound test against my older Soundboks 2. So the Soundboks 2 came out a few years back. Soundboks 3, I believe, came out end of 2019, I want to say. But they did a recent update with a bass boost that helped the speaker. And that's honestly part of the reason why I bought this speaker, because I heard the bass boost really helped. So I want to compare these two today. The Soundboks 2 is a speaker you can just connect one of to your phone. The Soundboks 3, the new Soundboks on the right, is a speaker where you can connect up to 5 speakers. So there's some new technology in there called ska technology, which allows you to wirelessly connect 5 of them. So that's a little info about the two. I'll show you the inputs on each of them. You have the power input, the auxiliary input, and then on the Soundboks 2 here you have the indoor mode, which is for indoor listening, but really what that does is just gives you a little less bass. Outdoor pumps the bass more, which is where I normally like to put the Soundboks. Going to the Soundboks 3, the new Soundboks, there's a dial on here. It's an infinite dial. You can just keep spinning it. And then there's solo mode, where you just play the one speaker. There's host mode, which is like I described, where you can make this a host speaker and you get 4 other Soundboxes, and then you can connect those via the ska technology, which is like a new Bluetooth technology. And then the join mode, that would be if you were using a different host speaker, and this was the joining speaker to join the host speaker. If you go back here, you have extra inputs. You have XLR inputs down here, and then you have some an auxiliary in and auxiliary output there as well, which is handy to connect any other external speakers you have. So that's sort of the overview of both these speakers. So let's turn these on and get to a sound test. Okay, I've got both of the boxes on right now. The Soundboks 2 is on outdoor mode, so there's going to be more bass than indoor mode. I'm not even going to test on indoor mode because it's just pretty much the same but with less bass, and we like to crank it outside with the bass. On the Soundboks 3, it's set up as well on solo mode. It's half volume, and forgot to mention the Soundboks 2 is also on half volume. I have my phone turned up to max volume, so both of these speakers are at their max bass settings. The Soundboks 3, the new Soundboks, is on bass plus mode. All right, I'm about 10 steps away, about 30 feet away from these speakers right now, and starting the music on the Soundboks 2. Soundboks 3. Sounds a little bit quieter on 50% compared to the Soundboks 2. Soundboks 2. Great bass on this speaker, even though it's several years old now. Soundboks 3. Definitely quieter on 50% volume. Let's make sure I have it turned all the way up. I do. Soundboks 2. You can hear that bass. Soundboks 3. Sounds maybe a little bit more boomy, but let's see what happens if we turn these up to 75%. Soundboks 3. Soundboks 2. Soundboks 2 still sounds a little louder. Soundboks 3. Soundboks 2. And Soundboks 3. Soundboks 2. Much louder. Alright, let's pause it for a second. On 75% and 50% volume, definitely the Soundboks 2 sounds louder to me. I'm not sure why this is. Maybe the volume steps are not equal for each of the Soundboxes. Potentially there's bigger jumps on the Soundboks 3 at the end than the Soundboks 2, but we'll find out. I haven't played these at max before, so let's see what happens if we crank them to 100%. And turn this to 11. You can see the 11 lights up. That's pretty cool. I definitely like the dial better on the Soundboks 3. All right, let's do our 30 feet away. All right, so max volume. Let's start with the Soundboks 2. Now back up a little bit. Soundboks 3. Definitely more upper bass. Soundboks 2. back up. Soundbox 2. Soundbox 3. Backing up further. Soundbox 2. Soundbox 3. Soundbox 2 again. It seems like the bass is a bit higher on the Soundbox 3 in terms of the frequency. The lower bass seems to be boosted more on the Soundbox 2. Switching to the Soundbox 3 again. Seems like there may be a little bit of distortion on max volume here on the Soundbox 3. Let's see how far I can back up. Soundbox 2. Little distortion on the Soundbox 2 as well, but it could be the track. Okay, so let's try a different song here. And we're gonna start out with the Soundbox 2. Again, this is no copyright music, so I'd like to be able to play copyrighted music that people know, but it's gonna get cut from YouTube if I do, so unfortunately I have to play non-copyright music. But let's try this song instead, starting with the Soundbox 2. Max volume, both. Soundbox 3. Soundbox 2. Soundbox 3. Soundbox 2. They seem about the same loudness to me. Soundbox 3. Soundbox 2. Soundbox 3. Soundbox 2. Pretty close to the same loudness. All right, you know what time it is. Time to link them together. I'm going to use the auxiliary out on the Soundbox 3. And plug it into the Soundbox 2. Let's see if we can double the sound here. Okay, I have the Soundboks 2 and Soundboks 3 connected together with an auxiliary cable going out of the Soundboks 3 to the Soundboks 2. Both speakers are on max volume and my phone's on max volume. I'm 30 feet away. Let's see how it sounds. That is extremely loud. I'm gonna back up. Closer to 50 feet away now. Still very loud. I'm gonna back up even more, see how far I can go. About 100 feet now. That bodes well for the Bluetooth connectivity on the Soundboks 3 though. Still plenty loud. Starting to lose a little bit of the bass 100 plus feet away, but it's still audible. Let's see how far we can go back now. Phone is still connected. Probably 150 plus feet away now. I'd say closer to maybe 200. Oh, it's starting to cut out. Really good distance on the Bluetooth range for the Soundboks 3. Keep in mind I'm having my phone connected to the Soundboks 3 and that is outputting audio to the Soundboks 2. So yeah, close to maybe 175 feet or so. Can't quite estimate, but it seems about between 150, 200 feet. Still pretty loud. Still getting some bass, but it's more upper bass. Oh, and we're losing signal. Let's get closer to 100 feet. Plenty of sound from 100 feet. Yeah, these sound great for how far away I am from these speakers. Okay, I'm back at my house now. I wanted to give a final review or final thoughts on these two speakers. As you can see, it's raining a bit right now, which is fine though, because both these speakers can take a splash or take rain. They are weatherproof, which is a great benefit. So let's start out with some of the aesthetics and functionality of the two speakers. The Soundboks 3 has this dial right here, and it's pretty good styling, I believe, with the light up dial marks right here, which I appreciate. I also think it looks better overall. The sort of the three speaker situation in the front just looks a lot better to me than the Soundboks 2 with the two woofers and the tweeter that it's kind of hard to see. I do like the Soundboks logo on the Soundboks 2 a little bit better. But other than that, the styling on the Soundboks 3 just looks a lot cleaner and nicer. You also have all these screws all over here, all over the front, which makes it look a little messier. The Soundboks 3, as you can see, doesn't have that. Actually, something to mention regarding the mounting of this grill here is that you can unbolt these little nubs here and take off the grill on the Soundboks 3 and spray paint it whatever color you want, or make a design on it or something like that. So that's something they had mentioned in the booklet when I got the Soundboks 3. So anyway, styling wise, the Soundboks 3, I'm going to say, is better. In terms of functionality, the Soundboks 3 has a bit better Bluetooth range, and it also has that auxiliary out, which I mentioned, and that is a huge benefit in my opinion. It allows you to connect to an external speaker. It could be another Soundboks, or whatever other type of speaker you have. If you have one of those JBL party boxes, whatever kind of external speaker you have, you can Bluetooth to your Soundboks 3, which has great Bluetooth range. Like you saw when I was out in the fields, that it was, I think I was 175 feet or something like that, and it was still connecting. So you connect to that via Bluetooth, and then let's say your speaker that doesn't have as good of range, you output to that speaker, and you can control the volume with your phone. It turns up the Soundboks 3, and it turns up the speaker that you are outputting to. And that is worth noting because a lot of other speakers don't do that. The volume is only controlled with the external speaker that you're outputting to on that speaker with a lot of other speakers. So I have two JBL Party Box 100s. The output on that, when you output to an external speaker, you can only control the volume on that external speaker. You can't use the Bluetooth connection to your Party Box 100, turn that up, and then also turn up the outputted speaker. Hopefully that makes sense, but it's great to have that functionality so you don't have to walk up to the speaker that is coming out of the auxiliary out on the Soundboks 3. So I was very pleasantly surprised when I saw that. And so you saw me out in the field, and I was able to turn up and down both these sound boxes at the same time while just connected to the Soundboks 3. So that is probably one of the biggest functionality points that I like the most of the Soundboks 3. The Soundboks 2, again, just has that auxiliary in and has Bluetooth connection. So unless you're splitting a signal between several speakers with like a headphone splitter, you're not going to be able to connect multiple Soundboks 2s. The other thing about the Soundboks 3 is you can connect with the ska technology. Like I mentioned before, the host join mode, all that, you can connect up to 5 speakers wirelessly with that. So if you have more Soundboks 3s, that obviously is ideal, but you can also wire out to other speakers. Let's mention that these nubs on the Soundboks 3 are definitely better. These are rubber. These are hard. These are great because if the Soundboks 3 tips over or something like that, it's gonna be fine. You're not gonna scratch it. These will protect it. These are hard, just like the other metal here. And you can see, I mean, there's scratches already on this. You know, if this falls over, there's gonna be problems with the aesthetic of the speaker. So that's something to keep in mind. I think that was a great design choice that they did. I think that's about it in terms of styling. You can see right through the Soundboks 3, which is kind of cool and kind of allows for an air port for the bass, which is nice. On the Soundboks 2, those air ports are here. Let's see, where's the other one? In there. So you could potentially get some extra port noise from the Soundboks 2. Although if you're standing back from these, 10 feet or so, you're not really going to notice that much. So lastly, let's talk about the sound quality of the two. A few things here worth noting. The Soundboks 2, if you are out in an open area, you're not going to get as much bass on the Soundboks 2 as the Soundboks 3. And when I say that, I mean you're not going to hear it as pronounced as the Soundboks 3. However, if you had the Soundboks 2, let's say you're outdoors in your backyard and you had it against a corner or against a wall, let's say I put it over there next to my garage or something like that, then you're probably going to start to hear that bass more from the Soundboks 2. If you did that with the Soundboks 3, the bass gets a little overwhelming. And when I say overwhelming, I don't mean like, oh, that's great, well, you're outdoors, so you want it to be kind of pronounced. It's more of a boxy bass. And that's not as good as the Soundboks 2 when you're up against a wall or anything like that. So that's one of the things that sort of concerns me and is honestly kind of making me think whether I should take this Soundboks 3 back or not. Something though to keep in mind is that if you want one of these speakers, you're going to be out in a big area and you're probably not going to be near any walls or anything like that. I mean, you can go get yourself 100 other Bluetooth speakers that are going to be loud, and that'll be fine for a backyard or whatever. But as you can see, I'm in my backyard now, and I didn't do the sound test in my backyard. I drove around for 20 minutes looking for an outdoor area where nobody was around me for a half a mile, because I just can't play these at max volume or loudly in my neighborhood, or else neighbors from all over are gonna come and knock on my door. So that being said, the Soundboks, when you get it, you're probably gonna have it in an open area anyway, which means that the Soundboks 3 will probably give you more hearable bass overall than the Soundboks 2. The only thing would be is if you're really close to the Soundboks 2 in an open area, then you could probably hear the bass more or as much as the Soundboks 3. But again, it's a loud speaker. You're probably going to be far from it. In terms of how low the bass goes on each of them, I would say the bass goes just as low on each of them. It says they both go down to 40 hertz, and I can verify they both go about to 40 hertz. They don't go any lower than that. One doesn't go lower than the other, although the Soundboks 3, hear that higher bass more. And that's part of the problem, is that the upper bass sort of drowns out the lower bass a bit in the Soundboks 3. So it can be a little bit distracting. Again, though, I need to reiterate that if you are in an open field or an open area, that lower bass kick that you get from the Soundboks 2 that is not as pronounced, you know, when you're far away from it, that lower bass is not going to translate like the upper bass from the Soundboks 3 that you're getting further away. So when you stand far away from these speakers, like 50 feet plus, you're going to think in an open field the Soundboks 3 has more bass, even though they're both hitting as low. So it's really a matter of preference. You know, in terms of overall sound quality, I think the Soundboks 2 is probably a little better. It has a little bit more sparkle in the highs as well. Whereas the Soundboks 3 emphasizes a little bit more on mids. And to be honest, the Soundboks 3 indoors sounds a little bit more natural to me and less harsh than the Soundboks 2 does. So, you know, it depends on your preference. When I listen to these on, like if I turn the Soundboks 2 to indoor mode and I turn the Soundboks 3 to indoor mode, which is basically removing the bass, the Soundboks 3 does sound a bit more natural, but again, not quite as sparkly as the Soundboks 2. So I've rambled on a bit there. I hope somewhere in that ramble that you got some good information from me. I think that's it. So if you liked the video, give it a like. For me being almost deaf from listening to these speakers, I did not realize how freaking loud they would be when I was 30 feet away. So that's why you saw me stepping back a bunch when I was testing these out. But anyway, thank you for watching.